Hello and welcome back to the Road to Doomsday, the MCU Rewatch podcast brought to you by the Nerd Academy Podcast. I am your host, Jarod Bachman Stubbs, and we are here at the penultimate film of Phase 1. I meant to bring her in already. As I said, I am your host, Jarod Bachman Stubbs, and joining me on the Road to Doomsday, as always, is the lovely Miss Taylor.
Hello.
And like I said, we're talking Captain America, the First Avenger, and there is nobody else we could have on the show with us for this episode other than the number one fan of this movie, dear friend, pseudo mentor, and man, I have plagiarized to high heaven. It is Armin from the ComicBookCast.
All right, let's do. I'm ready to show for this film like nobody you've ever met before.
Well, speaking of shilling. Before we jump into, as Taylor loves me to say, the meat and potatoes of the episode.
God. He says it so many times. He said it like 7 times one time.
I accidentally said it like so many times when you were doing Hulk. A word from our sponsors is Sunday's Bloody Mary. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. This former bartender who is slapping the shit out of their microphone trusts only one Bloody Mary mix, and that is Sunday's, the only Bloody Mary mix better than a from-scratch Bloody. If you want to shake up your Bloody Mary game for life, go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use the code TNAP at checkout, TNAP, and get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, first things first, as you all know, I got some trivia for you. First question. What Marvel hero was speculated to be Captain America's grandson until being disproven by a director? Taylor, I'll throw to you first.
Oh, I don't know.
Do I have a guess?
No.
Okay, Armin, do you remember this hubbub? Do you remember this hubbub for a time?
I'm trying to remember. I know this is probably the wrong one, but I remember there was speculation that they were going to make like Eli a white version and not related to Bradley or anything like that. I remember people like, oh, they're going to completely change the history of Captain America. I was like, no, but I don't remember specifically.
So this is very funny. And it kind of goes hand in hand with a game Taylor's been playing with the very few recasts of the MCU. It is Star-Lord, because the USO lady who makes doe eyes at Cap is played by the woman who also plays Peter Quill's mother in Guardians of the Galaxy, causing speculation that was Peter Quill's grandmother, and that she had a little tryst with Captain America, leading to the birth of Star-Lord's mother.
I now remember that. I now remember that distinctly. That was a thing for about 2 weeks, I think, and it was like, no, this ain't gonna happen.
And then James Gunn, was the director in question, had to come out and say, no, you idiots, we can see Peter's grandfather in the flashback at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny. Our second question. Why did Stanley Tucci accept the role of Dr. Abraham Erskine?
Because he's a bad bitch.
Okay, so we have because he's a bad bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Armin, do you know why Tucci took the role?
I remember he's talked about a couple different things. I do remember at one point he did say he wanted to just join one of these films, and it was a period piece. I remember that's one of the reasons. I don't know which one you might have, but
so you're not too terribly far off. The main reason Stanley Tucci was excited to play Abraham Erskine is because he wanted to finally do a German accent in a movie.
Okay, yeah.
Very silly reason from one of the best character actors of our day. Our penultimate question. What often Marvel fan cast actor was considered for the role of Steve Rogers, as Chris Evans denied the role 3 times?
I assume some other buff guy.
He wasn't quite buff yet. He is these days. Armin?
Okay, there's 3 names that pop out to me that were all mentioned all the time. 1 is Sam Worthington. 2 was Jai Courtney for whatever reason.
Oh my god.
And 3 was the dude from Tron Legacy who they wanted to offer the role to, but he wouldn't audition saying, "I'm bigger than an audition, just cast me." And they said, "No, I can't." I know there's tons of other names, but I can't remember them.
So, coming back to another funny bit, this is not the answer. Channing Tatum was also in the running for this, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was Mr. Not So Fantastic himself, John Krasinski.
Oh, right. Yep.
He was
I
he was
remember
one
that.
of he was one of the front runners as RDJ basically had to explain to Chris Evans, it's okay, your life won't be completely upended by this, I promise.
A lot like a liar.
Like a liar. And then our last question, the one I'm the most excited about. What other major franchise movie did Joe Johnston also direct?
Oh, come on.
Armin should go first. I mean, he's our guest.
Okay, Armin.
Okay, I just want to say this. It's not a major franchise movie, but I need to say it. Okay.
Say I worded this the way I did to get it for both Taylor and you.
So the correct answer is Jurassic Park 3, but the best answer is he directed The Rocketeer, which is a masterpiece, and Iron Man before Disney had Iron Man.
Facts. On the topic of Jurassic Park 3.
No.
Alan.
Love it.
That is so. When the lead up to Jurassic World Rebirth coming out, Taylor and I made a point of blasting through all of the Jurassic Park and World movies because I had only ever seen the first one of each. And I believe same with you. Or
No, I have seen all the Jurassic Parks, but I did not see them for several years.
That's right. That's right. And we were making our way through, and we got to that Alan, and we were obsessed and haven't stopped talking about it since. So I had to work that in there. Jumping into our little background segment. As another B-list Marvel hero, Captain America was trapped in development hell with ideas dating back to the late 90s, much like his fellow Avengers. Due to both rights disputes in the early 2000s and a delay due to the 2007 Writers Guild strike, the film shot over in intended 2008 release date. Joe Johnston was brought on because of his genre experience as a prominent member of the ILM visual effects team that brought both the Star Wars original trilogy and Raiders of the Lost Ark to life. The duo of Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were brought on to help rewrite the screenplay and would go on to write some of Marvel's best and biggest movies. Captain America, the First Avenger, clocked in at $140 million budget and grossed $370 million at the box office. And I pulled a little quote here I saw from Joe Johnston that I loved because, surprise, surprise, seeing some of Lucas's acolytes doing things and making very George decisions makes me happy. So there's this quote Johnston gave. We had 8 or 10 really talented artists, and we would all just sit around all day and draw pictures and say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? It's that phase of the production where money doesn't matter. Let's put all the great stuff up on the wall, and then later we can see what we can afford. And like I read that, and all I can see in my mind's eye is that moment in the documentary, the beginning, about the making of the Phantom Menace, where George is looking at all the storyboards, and he has, I think it's a yellow highlighter for things they can do practically, and a blue highlighter for things they're going to do in CGI. And it's just George going, "That's real. That's real.
Yep.
This isn't real. This is real. This isn't real. This isn't real." And it's just like I heard Joe Johnston say that, and I could feel the aura of George beating off of him. But yeah, Armin, I know this movie is incredibly special to you. Where were you? What was going on in the life of Armin when Captain America: The First Avenger comes out? And obviously also speak on why Cap means so much to you. Because, like I said,
this is a story like this doesn't just start with the First Avenger. This starts with literally me immigrating to the United States. So in like during the war in Bosnia, that started in 90 to 95, 96-ish when I came to the United States, I could watch cartoons here or there, right? Because again, TV, how are you supposed to get TV and stuff? So if you got any signal, cool. So Spider-Man, and then I saw who Captain America was just briefly in like crossovers. I was like, I'm interested. And my parents were like, well, we're going to actually move to America. We got accepted. So I was like, okay. We moved to the United States, and my dad took me to a local VHS shop and was like, rent a couple VHSs so you can watch. Back to the Future, Ninja Turtles. And I was like, Captain America? Okay. So we got the old Captain America movie where he fights like Italian Red Skull, right? I watched it, fell in love with Captain America, his ideals, what he stood for, and everything. So you fast forward to 2008, 2009, they announced a Captain America movie. I was already a fan of the comics, picking them up here or there, the Winter Soldier arc and everything. So I was like, oh, I'm ready. Then comes 2011 to, 2012. 2011 is when the film is coming out. CBC was a year into being CBC. We were barely at like 1,000 subscribers, I would say. Maybe not even that. We were just doing this thing. And I remember just being so excited. It's like, okay, Captain America, that's my dude. I look up to this guy, his ideals and everything. They got Chris Evans. I'm not sure about that, but I'm willing to give it a shot, It's a World War II film. I'm a history buff who his favorite classes were always history and everything. Joe Johnston comes from this background of, like you said, George Lucas in film, did The Rocketeer, which I love. Again, a period piece about World War II. Everything perfectly, came together for me, right? Like, it was like they made this film for me. And I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And then I remember going in and just sitting there, and I'm like, wow, could they have done this any better? They did, like, the serials style montages. They got the Red Skull right. They got Bucky right. They got Cap right. They got the Super Soldier. Like, everything I had, that I needed checked off was checked off. I was like, I can't complain. Now, truth be told, is it a 9 out of 10 film? No. Is it a 7 out of film? 7 out of 10? Yes. But to me, a 7 out of 10 is fine when, for me personally, it's a 10 out of 10. I can separate the two. Everybody knows my favorite comic book film of all time is X-Men First Class. That's like a 7.5 out of 10. Me, it's a 10 out of 10 because, again, it lines up with everything I love. So I was blown away. I remember just sitting there at the end of the film, and I was there with my friend Tony and a couple others, and they're just like, how are you feeling? I was just like, man, I think I'm going to cry. Like, that was it. It was like Captain America's here. Like, what else can I ask for? So, it's unreal to witness that and kind of just think back that was 14 years ago. My God, it's
yeah,
it's wild. Time has flown by, but hey, here we are.
absolutely, and I'm so glad. I'm so excited to jump into this. I'm so glad you're here to talk about this movie in particular. Taylor, what was young Miss Taylor up to when Captain America: The First Avenger dropped?
I was for sure in high school still, and I saw this movie. I definitely remember seeing it in the theaters because I was like, "Oh, I need to see this in the theater." Okay, two very big reasons. And I immediately fell in love with Bucky Barnes. That's my baby. My boy. But yeah, no, I absolutely love this film. I thought it was so well done. I thought they nailed all of the characters. They nailed their appearances. Everybody looks amazing. I was always just very much enamored by the film.
Yeah, I know. I liked this one as a kid. This is one of those moments where I was like, oh, like, I know this story, and I was kind of astounded to see it adapted as faithfully as it was, and excited to see it come to life in the way it was. I know for me, like, as a kid, I wasn't at the point yet where I understood Captain America isn't supposed to be a walking propaganda poster. That's the point. you know. So like in my mind, and I didn't quite have those words to say that, but I was thinking it, you know. And I was like, I don't necessarily love this character because I'm not all stars and stripes as a person, and my family isn't, you know, super like rah rally around the flag types. I was like, oh, like this is this like final puzzle piece to get us to Avengers, and like that's where my mind was at. And as I've grown up, as I've gotten older, as I've come to understand what Captain America represents, you know, that it is not a man kind of coiled up in the flag so much as it is a man who is, you know, so dyed in the wool about the American ideal and kind of striving to live up to a version of ourselves that has never quite existed, but he wants to make it real. And getting older and appreciating that, and then revisiting this movie, I'm like, I've come to love it very much. You know, I don't think I hold it in high as regard as Armin does. That's not to say I dislike the movie at all, because I love it. But like it is always kind of a breath of fresh air watching this one, and it just, you know, it makes you kind of want to run through a wall, you know, like that's that good shit. But jumping in for real, I keep avoiding the meat and potatoes because I'm afraid to say it anymore. I think what jumped out to me kind of off rip was this kind of core theme about exceptionalism. I mentioned it in the audio commentary. $5 patrons get exclusive access to the audio commentary tracks. What jumped out at me was this theme of exceptionalism. You know, that so much, especially in the first act, we're seeing all of these people who are kind of like caught up in basking in how special they are, you know, like, and even good guys like Bucky, you know, like he is, you know, there's kind of a spring to his step when he's walking around in that uniform the night before he ships out, you know, hanging out with the ladies who Taylor astutely pointed out one of them is Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, and that blew my fucking mind. I had no idea.
Bucky's little date.
Yeah, Bucky's little date, you know, and it's like, and again, all of the people that Steve has to train alongside, you know, they're told you're special already. We're about to make you more special, and we see the way that ego kind of swallows them up. You know, there's that one guy who's just actively antagonistic to both Steve and Peggy all the time. You know, he's a creep with Peggy. He's making Steve's life harder. You know, he kicks down the post with the barbed wire. And obviously our villain is this encapsulation of, you know, of exceptional, of the belief in exceptionalism being taken to its, you know, nth degree, you know, furthest conclusion of just supremacy, right? That, you know, he's such a supremacist. He has transcended the Nazi party and has become a Johann Schmidt supremacist.
He had left that behind. Okay. He was like, run it up one more.
And we'll get to that in a minute because I have a lot of opinions about Hydra in the MCU. But you take all of that and you juxtapose it with a guy who is very unexceptional as a, you know, physically, but has exceptional spirit. And he does not do what, you know, it goes back to what, you know, that big moment that he and Erskine have in the barracks, right? Where it's like, you know, a weak man appreciates and understands the power of strength and has the compassion to back it up. And it is the way that Steve, unlike pretty much everybody in the movie, aside from himself and Erskine, really, do everything in their power to spread exceptionalism. You know, and I think that there's also something to be said for, you know, the very concept of American exceptionalism as an idea, as something that we are all taught in school. You know, I remember being taught it as though it was an inherent fact of reality and not just a worldview that is at times problematic. That, you know, there is American exceptionalism and then there's Captain America exceptionalism, which is, we're like it again, it's that spreading of that morale boost that he just is by walking around, by empowering others around him, by giving them hope, and also being such a capable leader. And I think that theme, just starting the movie out, carries so much weight. And I've been yapping for a minute, and I don't want to dominate the time. So if anybody wants to interrupt me and say what they have to say.
So the idea that you're talking about there, I really like it, because you talk about, who Captain America, who Steve Rogers is, right? And people miss the point that, like, the Hulk, right? Bruce Banner, Abomination, all these monsters, Red Skull, Johann Schmidt, they all use the super soldier serum. But look at their end results. It boils down to who Steve Rogers is. And as they, hammer home in this film that people still overlook as to why no other super soldier serum has been the same, is because he is pure at heart. Like Bruce Banner, anxiety and anger drove him to be the Hulk with the failed experiment. Blonsky became Abomination because he's an abomination of a human who's just a human that wants to target everybody for a payday and to serve the country that's going to pay him. He was a hitman essentially for hire. You look at Thunderbolt Ross. Look what happened to him. You look at the leader. He just wants knowledge, and his brain grows when it leaks right into him. I think that Steve, how they boiled that down and translated it into Red Skull as well, being like, it turned him inside out. Well, who is he? Oh, he's a raging gene supremacist Nazi. Of course, it's going to make him an evil-looking Skeletor, red-faced bastard. The film just nailed it. Like, it's. I love that aspect of it. Like, it didn't need to be explained any further than that. Hey, we inject you with this. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you end up looking like a Nazi. Okay, it's just okay.
That's all the explanation I need.
Right? Yeah.
And it is so, again, like the supremacist aspect with Schmidt is so great, because you end up in the tale as old as time debate of, oh geez, I feel really icky because this Nazi villain is fucking awesome. Hugo Weaving is so great in this movie because he understands the movie he's in.
Mm-hmm.
I have caught flack for the amount for how much I love the word pulp. It has come up from time to time. And if I'm on CBC this week to talk about the Mando and Grogu trailer, not to date this episode completely, get ready to hear me say the word pulp about 80 fucking times. But like he leans into this pulpy, just a larger than life character, like even bigger than like what the MCU even has, right? Where there is just so like the Red Skull is so much. And it's because he's so high on his own supply.
The one scene that people forget is like he pulls up with his Red Skull German car, like into the middle of the war zone. Just like rolling in, just like driving his car. Like dude, he knew the script and what it needed. And again, if it would have played a different way, Red Skull would not have been as impactful as he was. Like
100%.
They needed Hugo Weaving the same way that I don't like his design in the Transformers film, but they needed Hugo Weaving to chew those scenes and be like, yeah, I'm a dumb, stupid robot called Megatron, something, give me the cube, boy. Like he knows when the role needs stupidity.
Hold on.
He I have to take this up a notch.
Right. Yeah.
Weaving played Megatron in the Bay movies?
You didn't know that? Oh, come on. Yeah. Who else could do it?
That's astounding. I think I've seen all of those movies like once.
Okay, that's fair because that's all they're worth.
I definitely saw them more than once because I love Megan Fox.
But
there's a lot of things I love about Megan Fox.
That's like tangentially related. I won't get too lost on this. I watched a 4-hour long retrospective about Black Ops 2 last week. And I was last week years old when I realized that Gary Oldman played Victor fucking Reznov.
Oh.
And that Ed Harris played Agent Hudson and then was recast with Michael Keaton. I was like, because I kept hearing these names. I'm like, what are you talking about? These games I played as a teenager had all of these like legendary actors in it.
Yeah.
What, Gary Oldman was Victor Reznor. Anyway, not the point. But yeah, and it works so well. And there's so many little things that Joe Johnston brings to this movie that I absolutely love. Like, again, this is no shade at all to the Russo brothers. I truly do love what they do with these characters.
Same.
But like, there's a part of me that wishes we could have gotten more Joe Johnston doing this type of period era, because there's so many little moments that like stuck out to me. Like I pointed it out in the audio commentary where I was like, that, like, whenever Red Skull fully like declares that Hydra is separating from the Nazis.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite scenes of the Red Skull is when he's like, he brings them in the room with Arnim Zola, and he's like, yes, sure, I'll show you my weapons. How many are there of you? 1, 2, 3.
The little counting is so
that was I was like, yes, sign me up.
Again, not to get lost
for the
but also not to get lost in the discussion about actor choices like we did in the Thor episode. But like, again, little choices. It's just him talking, typing in and going, okay. Like, so funny. But like in that scene, that last Nazi that gets disintegrated with like the Tesseract rifle, that like it was so Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
It was so Spielberg that he's like and just flattens against the door and just screams for a solid 5 seconds before he gets disintegrated. And it's just little nuggets like that, just that have that period, again, very Spielberg-y feeling thing. I see so much George and I see so much Spielberg in Joe Johnston. And that's not to take away from Johnston's own like creative vision as a director and say like, oh, look at these legends he worked with before he was a full-fledged director himself.
Right.
He's just like them. But like, you see that influence, you know, where it's like, yeah, this guy helped melt Nazis in Raiders.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
he said, run it back.
He said, run it back.
You know, like you bring that up, and like I've talked about this before. I personally think that the best MCU film, like as a film, is The Winter Soldier. I think that that's the best film they've ever made. But to me, the First Avenger is that Joe Johnston. It has a level of campiness, a level of like an Amblin film type of production and feel that you just don't get anymore. And you look at that film, it has such a different feel. The way that the camera moves, the way that they structure action sequences. Again, it's Joe Johnston through and through. And while I do love the other film more, you know, as a film, I can't help but be like, The Winter Soldier is just a good version of another Mission Impossible James Bond movie, which isn't bad. It's great at doing that.
Yeah.
But what other comic book film can you tell me that looks, feels, and does the same thing as the First Avenger? There aren't many. The Rocketeer, Joe Johnston, coincidentally enough. You know, it's like it has that vibe. It's that classic film feel that maybe because I'm old and I grew up on those films, I love it for a specific reason. But you bring up Indiana Jones. It has that in it. It has those serialized moments that, again, Joe Johnston picked up from Spielberg and Lucas. Like it's in there. It has that feel that I don't get out of many comic book films anymore, and probably never will, honestly, which makes me sad to a degree, because it's like everything, for lack of a better term, now Marvel has kind of become an element of what people accuse it of being 10 years ago when it wasn't. It's like some of the stuff looks too similar. Now it actually does. Back then, they were still trying. Like Thor today doesn't resemble Thor when Kenneth Branagh directed that first film. You know, it's like completely different, for better or for worse, you know, because hey, it's take it or leave it.
Yeah, and and that's something interesting that has come up a lot in our conversation so far is like there's been a lot of trade-offs that have happened with the MCU, and I think that a lot of it is like, you know, especially phase 1, phase 2 as well. There's a lot of like establishing these characters, living in their origins, And then the payoff is getting them kind of at like a resting tempo and getting to them as like, what is their typical status quo?
Mm-hmm.
And to get there, you have to trade off the novelty of them just beginning to exist, right? And by the time we are 4 Avengers movies deep, how many alien invasions, how many cataclysmic, these catastrophes happen, like eventually we reach something resembling the status quo of the Marvel Universe in the comics, where it's Tuesday and the Hulk just had to like shoulder rush through the Chrysler building, fighting a monster, right? And that's normal because we're living in a normal world where we're all used to this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really weird meta thing happening where, because we are used to it, like on the big screen, we're used to it being dominating pop culture. It also reflects how the world they live in is used to this shit. And it's that weird trade-off. We were talking about it in the Thor episode where it's like, say what you will about Thor Love and Thunder. I'm not here to argue with Armin about it right now. As much as I love and respect him, I'm not here to argue with him about that movie right now. But you take look at something like Thor Love and Thunder. Look at how much everything about the Thor Asgardian mythos is taken for granted now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten to the point where it is a foregone conclusion that a new Asgard exists on Earth.
No.
How many great character arcs and beats and moments had to happen to get us there? Well, that is what we get from the trade-off for it to just be normal now.
Yeah.
Is that we lose seeing Asgard for the first time. We lose everybody speaking like they're in a Shakespeare play because all of these Asgardians have now been hanging out with Earth people for too long. We lose the thous and these and thines because Thor's friends with Tony Stark now.
Yep.
And Loki has been hanging out on Sakaar, around a bunch of fucking degenerates.
Loki's with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, like so I like it is that weird thing where it's like, and I said this, in the late 2010s, as Endgame was coming, where I was starting to see that, right? Like that status quo, like, we're reaching a level of equilibrium you really only see in the comics, because comic book movies for so long were anchored to origin stories. Yep. They were anchored to the novelty of this person exists now.
And now look at what James Gunn has done with Superman. They bypass all that. You're just like, yeah, this universe has existed for 300 years or something. Go. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And
I suppose it has.
Yeah.
And it's already at status quo. It's already at everybody in the world accepts it, right? It's not insane to see Superman. And I remember having that kind of thought of like, we've traded so much to get to this place. And I think that I don't know if I'd rather go back to it feeling novel, or if I love the acceptance of it, that it is just all kind of taken for granted as an assumption that yes, this is a thing. There are super soldiers and gods and monsters and space age technology. And also we have iPhones, and someone's just going to tweet like, gee golly wow, I hope Thor doesn't shit wet my car at the fucking whoever.
That's like one of the best parts of She-Hulk was we got to see the MCU doing that, and you're just like, oh, there's just crime happening with superheroes, I guess. Jen want to come in and defend them, and it's like, sure, maybe, I don't know.
And it's never felt more kind of taken for granted. And to bring it all back to Captain America, I think this is the character where you kind of end up with the shortest shelf life for that novelty. Where like Cap, because of what makes him interesting in a modern context, is the man at a time element.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of have to drench his first solo story in, the gallantry and the pulp and the heroism of, America in World War II, that it makes all of it feel so bygone when
Right.
we
I mean,
see
like,
him in the modern age. And like,
see,
but like, that's the first instance of that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's your first trade-off.
right.
You've got
That's
all of this to get him here.
literally one of my favorite elements of it is like you set the template for who Steve is. And in the first Avenger, the story is America is going to save the war because we have the ultimate weapon, a good American soldier with good American troops. Hurrah, America. Yeah. Captain America wakes up in modern day. Hold up. What do you mean the United States employed Nazis after the war? And wait, what do you mean you're also playing both sides of the war to profit? This isn't the America I died defending and building. And they're like, get used to it, Cap. You're a soldier and you're a product that we point at and you don't ask questions. And he's like, no, that's not what I am. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I love Captain America, the First Avenger, because it has that split as opposed to where he is in the modern day. And again, they make sure his character sticks with it. You know, like he's loyal to his vision of what America could be. But Steve is a naive moron who doesn't realize that America can never be that again. Sadly,
Yeah.
you know, like and I love that aspect of his character. He's so dedicated to trying to bring that back. You see that in the first film. And then by the time the Winter Soldier is over, you're like, oh, Steve realizes that can never come back. Like
Yeah.
that's gone, you
And
know.
it
It's
shakes
like,
him to his core.
yeah, it really does.
Fundamentally breaks him. And it kind of all starts here. I'm gonna pause for one moment. But yeah, and Steve can never be as Steve can never live in a world that's as pure of heart. And I think that part of the tragedy of that is that like the world Steve lived in was never like him.
Mhm.
I think that like he was able to live in, and then there was a naivety to him. And I think what is so tragic about his character, beyond the man out of time, the man who sacrificed everything and got it back 70 years too late, is that I don't think he fully understood that the world he was already living in was deeply cynical. He
Mhm.
just brute forced that like radical optimism into it, that that the time people wanted to believe that because there was a war to win.
Yeah.
Where now that cynicism is so overbearing, he is like a 1,000-watt light bulb in a very dark room,
Mhm.
and that defines him in so many ways. Uh, Taylor, thoughts on Steve Arc? Because
Um,
Armin and I've been yapping for a minute.
so the arc that Steve goes on, I find very beautiful, but obviously, that's how it has to go. Um, I made this comment several times during the audio commentary because Steve and Bucky are just Achilles and Patroclus. And it is one of those things that we get over and over and over again with their characters. And I think it's really beautiful.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And and I also love that like on that while I'm with the Steve and Bucky stuff, I love so much of their characters are them just like taking turns protecting each other, and that's just going to define them for the rest of their days. And and also kind of looking forward, kind of like in the foreshadowing of it all. Armin, something that we kind of came down on that I find particularly compelling is after rewatching Iron Man beginning to end for the first time in very long, is kind of the realization that Tony's this bizarre cosmic punishment Tony
Mhm.
is given for the life he led before becoming Iron Man is that the rest of his life will be defined by an arms race.
Mhm.
That everything is other people just like either taking his technology and
Yeah.
taking it up a notch, or people developing technology that is insane, like Extremis, or the
Right.
cosmic supernatural element of the arms race. And it will eventually lead to his sacrifice. That like the ante just keeps getting upped and upped and upped and up and up. And I think it's funny that again, like the sins of the Stark name, like we see it here with the Tesseract. that it's found before Steve can be found, and Howard Stark absconds with it. And, you know, maybe not with ill intent, but again, it is that first step on the road.
As he's looking
Right.
for his boyfriend.
Yes. Everybody is Captain America.
Everybody.
Captain America is everybody's boyfriend.
Captain America is everybody's boyfriend in this movie. That's straight up a fact.
But like we
The way
see,
he's like longingly looking at like Howard is like, no, forget the Tesseract. I mean, bring it on board
Yeah.
for sure. But keep looking. Like don't put that back down. But also I don't care about it right now. I need to find my love.
but there's something so damning and like kind of harrowing about like, oh, well, there's another supernatural thing that's going to ruin a lot of lives, and there's a Stark with his hands on it, and you know that's poignant for this for this ongoing story. Can we talk about Hydra? Can I get some Hydra shit off my chest?
Go for it. Go off, King. Richard.
I think it's really cowardly the way that they try to make Hydra not Nazis.
Well, technically, they aren't Nazis.
They aren't not Nazis
Technically.
either.
Yeah.
They're like, we're gonna toe this line.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
toe that line like you've never seen like a bar. Okay, this is a gymnast. We're
Yeah.
on the long bar. Okay.
I just don't get it. I truly just don't get it, because Hydra is cartoonishly evil in this movie. They never try to make an appeal and have like they never try to let Hydra have a moment where any of the Hydra people, like Red Skull in particular, and you know Arnim Zola are the only ones who really matter. But like they never have a moment of trying to have a, you know, we like, you know, the America's doing things as bad as we are or whatever. Like there's never, they never try to make an appeal to morality. Right. They never try to like justify their moral stance. Right. And I understand that like Hydra growing into, again, like it's no longer like about the Aryan supremacy. It is about Johann Schmidt supremacy.
Well,
And
here for him specifically.
But like,
and obviously he is not the only head of Hydra because it continues on well after he's gone.
Yeah, I just don't get why it feels like there's a concerted effort to go Hydra aren't the Nazis. And
well, because
it just baffles me and it frustrates
me.
me.
Nazis are
like, I don't know. I don't know why they make this choice to go out of their way to make them two separate things.
So like I think, you know, a lot of people that are going to listen to this know one of my absolute all-time favorites is Magneto. Again, World War II result. You know, what happened to him under the hands of the Nazis and everything and all that. The reason I like Magneto, and I love Red Skull, you know, I've talked about it. He is my favorite MCU villain, even though he doesn't get enough time. I just love where he comes from. And breaking down that character. Red Skull and Magneto, funny enough, have a lot of parallels. Magneto wants to wipe out everybody but the Brotherhood that sides with him. And they're like, oh, you're a villain. He's like, no, I just want good for my people. And he'll use others to assist in his ways. I like that they kind of went with Red Skull going, yes, I'm a Hydra and I am Nazi, but I'm only using them, but I'm also going to wipe them out. Like, he's using them because they're funding him, because he has crazy ideas, and his outlook is, I'm still going to wipe you motherfuckers out.
Yep,
I don't care about you either. Like, he's aligning himself with them just because they are the means to his end, and his end is destroy the world and rule everything. Same as Magneto in the end, from a different perspective and a reason. Which is, again, why they're two of my favorite villains. I love a villain that's just like, I have a reason, and the means to getting to that end, I will step on and agree with anybody that's going to get me to that next step. You know, like, Magneto's like, sure, I'll join you, Sinister. he hates Sinister, but he'll work with Sinister if it means he can advance to the next step. You know, like it's that type of deal.
For sure. And like and again, like I enjoy Red Skull's motivation. I enjoy the idea of I think this is where my rub comes in. I think if it's framed slightly differently, that like he's a deeply evil person who is siding with the Nazi party out of, this like, yeah, like we're all supremacists of some strain, but my ideas are bigger than Hitler. I like that. What frustrates me is that in the movie, it is very much framed as Hitler told him to kick rocks, and he's doing this to spite Hitler. And like it feels too pithy, and like it feels like them going, he's just a megalomaniac. He's a garden variety megalomaniac. He again, and I love how Saturday morning cartoon villainy Red Skull is here.
Yeah,
I just like
You wanted him to have more
like,
substance.
see, like I love
it's not
when
even
they
a substance thing. It's just like it feels like they're avoiding having to deal with the realities of the Nazis
I
and
they were
making it
because
like Cobra instead.
yeah, and like there's the one scene in the film. Again, people got to pay attention to it, and I'm sure you see it. You know what I'm talking about. When Johann shows what he's going to bomb,
Yep.
he's explicitly going to bomb Berlin.
Berlin's on the
He's
map.
going to bomb Italy
Map.
because he wants to take out the fascists. Because he's like, well, they're in my way, so I'm going to get rid of everybody. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love that this level again. He's comedically evil, and like I do love that aspect of him. While also I can complain about it because again, I get it. At the time, remember this and Thor were the first film that Disney started to put their hand into. And remember, they were going to tackle Demon in a Bottle in Iron Man 2, but Disney was there during the post production. They were like, pull all that out. We're not cutting close to that line. Now, I have talked to people who did work on all these early films, some that still work there. Captain America was going to deal more with the Nazi stuff. That was cut out. Disney did not want to go full on in that, which, again, Disney, that's what they're going to do. That's what they did.
It's a corporate.
Yeah, it's a corporation.
And again, and like it's one of those things where it's like on paper, I vehemently disagree with it, but on paper, I also understand like we're trying to build a franchise, maybe bringing the mood down with Captain America liberating Doc Owl might bring the mood down a little bit. But like by the same token, I wish it went that extra step further. And like I said, like it takes away, in my opinion, a little bit from the legend of Captain America by having him fight a completely different war than World War II. Because like
it's a secret war.
It is a secret war. But like it feels like we're going into this realm where it's like, oh, like we're not fighting the Nazis. We're not even fighting, we're not even fighting Japan or Mussolini at this point.
We're fighting
Hydra. We're fighting Cobra. And like and Hydra feels like it just becomes like insert, authoritarian, like fascist, coded evil organization here.
Yep.
I mean, it's putting everything in the same bag because we're gonna need to pull one of them out.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna take the bag of bad guys and motivations and whatever I need in the bag of Hydra, and as I need I need this specific flavor from this this giant organization. Cool, let's just throw them in. And then as we see more Hydra, we see fully different aspects. Obviously, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon. But like we see it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot more. the pieces of Hydra, the expansion of it.
Yeah, Agents of
Um,
Shield really nailed Hydra more so than the films even tried, I feel.
because they had way more time to get into
Uh-huh.
it. And that's the thing
Yeah.
is that like there's just not enough time to go over a thousands of year long organization. Like it's just
Right,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that, because if I remember correctly, they do get more in Agents of Shield. It's been so fucking long. They do deal more with like, yeah, Hydra is a supremacist organization.
Mm-hmm.
Where here again, like it's just Cobra,
Yeah.
and
I do love me some Cobra, don't get me wrong. I love Cobra.
yeah. But again, it's just that like, we're evil because domination,
Yep.
and it's like, but by the same token, and this is why I'm so conflicted on it, right? And this is why I want to talk about it here. I want to get this conversation started here because I know the conversation is going to continue in a little bit, a lot through a Winter Soldier and a little bit into Age of Ultron, where it's like, the Cobrafication of Hydra only increases to the point where like where Hydra is like incredibly multicultural. It's like, do with that what you will. And it just becomes this like evil shadow organization and not like the Nazi shield.
Mm-hmm.
And but by the same token, there is, as somebody who has read a lot about the mechanics of fascism and how, every single fascist movement is made up of a bunch of petty leaders who are all waiting for their opportunity to become, the dear leader.
Uh-huh.
That like there is a lot of truth to, yeah, Johann Schmidt is not here because he believes in a cause. Johann Schmidt is here because he believes in Johann Schmidt. And
and he
like,
needs funding, baby.
in a horrific alternate reality where the Axis powers win World War II, it was only a matter of time before Germany came for Italy and Japan.
Yeah.
Or if, Japan or Italy tried to make a power play against Germany, that was inevitably going to happen. It's everything is
there can only be one.
There can only be one. Everything is built on these shaky alliances.
Alliances made out of convenience.
Yeah. And I appreciate that aspect as well. And I appreciate a modern version of Hydra, looking more diverse, looking like the world around it, look at the fascism of today, where we have an Indian Hindu man evoking like the white supremacist dog whistle of going to Valhalla. Like, yeah, I can see how I could see how, you have like a Jasper Sitwell being a dyed-in-the-wool Hydra guy, a little bit today. And I go back and forth with them, but there's just that initial knee jerk for me is like, just let Hydra be the Nazis, man. Like, not every big franchise needs to be able to have their bad guys be as marketable as the Galactic Empire. Like,
yeah.
Like Stormtrooper helmets and Vader and shit. Cool. And that's its own conversation that I don't have a good answer to. I'm sitting here with a goddamn Kylo Ren tattoo. I can't, like.
I got Megatron right there, So, like, what can I say, Like,
yes,
come on.
Taylor with the Imperial cause.
Yeah. So, like, yeah.
It's very
I
complicated.
got both though.
You got yes, yeah, but I don't know. I struggle with Hydra in the MCU. I struggle with its depiction. I think it does work, and I think it does stay thematically resonant with what it is. It just requires a little bit more work,
and
than I wish the Nazis did.
Like, you bring this up, right? And coincidentally enough, I mentioned it. My favorite comic book movie of all time is X-Men First Class. Now, do you see the problem with that is they do the Brotherhood of Mutants, right? Which is another supremacist-like group by Sebastian Shaw running it, right? And what is his ultimate goal? I'm going to drop missiles that irradiate the Washington Monument and the White House and stand in the middle of it going, mutant and proud, born from mutation and radiation. I'm like, good God, this is fucking stupid. But I'm sitting there like fucking
I'm
clapping my
ready.
hands off.
Hey,
You know, I'm
look,
like,
it doesn't
yes,
have to be a good movie for it to be a fun movie. That's
right.
all
I'm
that
like,
matters.
yeah, like they again, the Brotherhood of Mutants also got severely nerfed, and they simplified them so
Yeah.
much. And who the Hellfire Club is, but again,
Azazel, come on,
yeah,
my
but, like,
man's.
I love Azazel, like because again, for his religious significance and the real religion and what they do with him here, like it's like I love these. I love that they at least try, but they have to comic book these real life concepts and ideas and make them again comic booky to a degree where you're like, I just got to accept it for what it is. At least they didn't shy away from it because believe it or not, this was told to me by somebody that worked on the film. Captain America, the First Avenger, was not going to be called Captain America because the America thing. And
Mhm.
also, Hydra in the original drafts was never a German thing. They were going to be like a global thing because they were afraid of doing the Nazi thing. So the fact that they got even close to it and skated by it blows my mind because they were afraid to even potentially mention it, being like, but Nazis, some people think they're good. What if we piss them off? Bro, what the fuck you talking about? They're fucking Nazis. They're the
Nazis
bad
are
guys.
objectively a
Yeah,
bad thing.
literally, it's a fact that they're bad. You shouldn't be
It's
afraid
a
to say
fact
that.
that
Like,
they are bad.
yeah. So the fact that they even allowed Hydra to be an offshoot of Nazis, like,
Mhm.
fine. You know, I'll take what I can get when I can.
Truly, truly. Damn that. See, now I feel fully justified in all of my bitching. Now that I know that, because I know that they were gonna. I know that in some markets the movie was just called The First Avenger. I
Mhm.
know that I think I read in Poland it was called Captain America First Clash, which is a hilariously bad title. But either way, they had to change Count Dooku's name because his name was toilet in Japanese.
Mhm.
But yeah, all of that said, I do love this movie and I love thematically what it's doing.
I do love
And
Bucky Barnes.
yeah, Bucky's great. I the thing that I like, we kind of angled at this a little bit, but I do kind of want to hone in on it. I think there's a really fun theme here that again I think carries with like Steve as like this again the man out of time, a very optimistic man from an optimistic time in a very cynical world. By the time we get him in the modern day, I think there's something really beautiful about the way that he renders propaganda obsolete by actually believing it, or not even believing propaganda so much as he is this ideal that is propagandized about. And I think that that's a really fun dynamic that is just like it's hard
He's
to
more myth
define.
than man.
Yes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
such a perfect way of putting it. That is such a perfect way of putting it. Like because again, like it's because you try to make him propaganda and it feels cheap. It appeals to the people who are safe at home, going to see a show to buy war bonds. I've punched Adolf Hitler in the face over 200 times.
I like
But
how they were all cool with that too. They were like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
sure,
sure,
whatever.
buddy. But then you get to where he's doing the show for the troops in Italy, and everybody is just so unimpressed and nonplussed by how all the pageantry,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, yeah,
Bring
like
back
that
the
propaganda can only
girls.
take you so far. Bring out the girls.
Bring
So
back the
funny.
girls.
Um,
Me
but
in college.
but when he actually goes to do what he knows he's supposed to do, what he's meant to do, is when, like, yeah, you can make all the propaganda films you want about Captain America. It doesn't fucking matter at this point. He is what he is. Like you
Let's
said,
hear it for
Taylor,
Captain America.
he's myth now. He is mythical in the power he carries as a human symbol. And I think it adds so much to like when he becomes Nomad by the time of Infinity War and he's no longer Captain America and he's an outlaw. Like there's still so much bravery and courage and, steadfastness he inspires, because that's who he is. It doesn't matter the colors he's wearing. It does not matter,
Right.
what it doesn't, none of that pageantry.
It doesn't
and
matter what
cetera
banners are
matters.
flown or what he's walking
Yeah.
underneath.
It's Steve
him.
fucking Rogers.
He's him.
He's him, and we know what he stands for, and it's fucking awesome. Yeah. Do you have anything else for Captain America? This one was shorter than I expected. We had a lot of really good conversations, and I was realizing, I was like, I think we kind of hit it all, unless there's anything we're missing.
Howling Commandos, A1 from day one, baby. Those guys rocked it.
Howling Commandos, hell yeah. I wish they would have got a spin-off.
Same.
I do too. So I said during the audio commentary, I really appreciate all that they gave the Commandos
Yeah.
in this movie, because knowing in this film, this is it for them. Like, we know that this is a period piece. We know that we're going to immediately pick up in the present day.
And we were lucky to just get a little bit more in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like, oh man, like
and Agent Carter. I really, really appreciate like all of the personality we got from the Commandos.
Yep.
Each individual one felt very like, they feel very human. They feel very fleshed out. They feel very lived. And it's all the little conversations that they have with each other. Just in the bar scenes. I was taking German in school. And I switched over to French because the girls were prettier. I absolutely love the Commandos.
Yeah,
they're fucking
I'm
awesome.
from
I
Fresno.
also realized last night that Neil McDonough, he's the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I was so
Perfect.
distracted looking at his face. I was like, that fucking guy from Arrow? I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't say it in the audio commentary because I was literally too distracted to speak. I'm like, is that the guy who got weird about kissing people? Is that him? I can't tell through the mud. Is that? And I was like, son of a bitch, it is.
Yeah, he kills it at that role. Like, no joke. My wife became a fan of Dum Dum Dugan and started picking up comics he's in because of his portrayal in this film. Like,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's
and
what it's all about.
Me and Haley Atwell and Captain Carter, that character skyrocketed to the top. I mean, I have Captain Carter multiple places on my wall and all the figures. Like, I love that character. And Haley Atwell as Carter is just perfection.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. So
it's so good. And again, like, and it goes to that like theme, right? And
also Natalie Dormer.
Yeah, there's so many actors who just show up that you're like, oh, holy shit, you're in this?
I mean, what is it? The dude, the main Hobbit, he's the Nazi guy trying to steal the super soldier serum.
Richard Armitage. The Oak and Shield. He's not a Hobbit. He's a dwarf.
The dwarf. That's what I meant. I haven't seen that film in forever. I need to rewatch him. I love that first one of the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah, immediately as soon as we were watching, as soon as I pulled up the credits, because I was like, that's Jenna Coleman. And I pulled up the cast and I was like, Richard Armitage. I forgot about Richard Armitage. Oh,
it's such a wild cast. It's such a great cast too.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, Jared loves himself from Tommy Lee Jones.
Listen. I stand by what I said in the audio commentary that there is a Men in Black reference in the scene where they're chasing the war ship, whatever. Either like chasing him in like Red Skull's Benz, Men in Black, do not push the little red button, and then they're chasing the Edgar alien. I would like you to press the little red button.
Yeah.
And then Tommy Lee Jones pushes a red button to make the car speed up. That's a Men in Black reference, and you can't tell me I'm wrong. Men in Black, technically a Marvel property. I'm right.
It is.
But
what if he's playing the same guy?
Huh?
He's still Agent K?
It's just Agent K.
The time travel, they did it in the third film, so there we go.
Exactly. After they killed Boris the Animal, I'm sure the name of a villain. I'm the only person.
I was gonna say you're the only person that knows Men in Black lore. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I'm not. No.
Oh man.
Listen, I'm not gonna do to you what I did to Taylor last week. I promise I don't have a clip from the Men in Black music video queued up like I did for Wild Wild West of Thor. But what I do love, and that's another theme, and I'm glad you brought up Carter because it jogged my memory on one other thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap up. Again, one of the themes we've been talking about with the Infinity Saga, where like I have said many, many times, I think the overarching theme of the multiverse saga has been this idea of accepting what is and moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And that the multiverse has been used as a plot device to create stories about looking at what was and what could have been and accepting where you are and healing from how you got here. And I've been saying for the Infinity Saga, Taylor and I have been talking about how a lot of these stories have really leaned on this idea of like, what is the cost of being a hero?
Yeah.
And I think that what is really interesting is that Peggy Carter knows and understands that cost more than Steve does before the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because on some level, like Peggy has had to kind of like demystify her own life in a way that's really tragic, where like, and again, part of it is that a little bit of like a cliche military person, like everything is very matter of fact. We're using military jargon in everyday conversations. But there is something really kind of, I don't know if it's haunting necessarily, but there's something just really glower about that, and when this is all over, who knows, maybe I'll go dancing, where it's like, it's like imagining doing something so benign as a celebration for doing what feels impossible. And Steve is so, again, with everything he believes in and everything he stands on and everything, all these things he does, he's still just kind of acting like it's just Tuesday, and I think that's part of what adds to the myth of Steve Rogers, right? Where it's like, oh yeah,
I could do this all day.
I could do this all day. I practically soloed a fucking Hydra prison camp.
He was mostly sneaky.
He was mostly sneaky, but like still, like he does all of this stuff, and it's very matter of fact. It's just Tuesday for him, and it isn't until he's ready to make this ultimate sacrifice, and he wakes up 70 years later, and the world is completely changed, where it catches up with him, and he realizes how much he had to let go. And what I do love about like the end of the Infinity Saga is the way a lot of these characters who have to grapple with the cost of being a hero, the way that kind of final decision comes down. For Tony, in a fucked up way, he does kind of find like, I survived being captured by the 10 rings, so that, and I've been trained ever since then to prepare myself to make the ultimate sacrifice. Thor is somebody who grows and grows and grows to appreciate the concept of community so very much, and his ultimate tragedy is how often it keeps getting taken away from him. And how by the time we leave him in Thor Love and Thunder, a movie Armin and I aren't going to argue about right now, he does find community again with a daughter, and like it's given back to him. And that's all the way in the multiverse saga, but still like that's that constant arc of like, he's trying to find community. For Steve, it's somebody who his story was supposed to end 70 years ago. It started up again in spectacular fashion. And now he realizes all he wants is that happy ending. Like the cost of being a hero was you don't get, this story doesn't end for you now because you didn't die.
I was gonna say, and even when he gets a happy ending after Endgame, he's swinging back into it now because we know he's back. So it's like, oh, good God, you can't escape it. Like, that's Steve Rogers' life.
It's heavy stuff. But okay, do we have anything else, or is this all we have for the First Avenger?
not unless we want to talk about how wonderful Sebastian Stan is again.
I mean, I'm happy to. It's great. You know, what I think is crazy watching this is like he has a lot of great moments with Sebastian Stan. It's just so crazy to me that like he doesn't really get that much to do here.
No, he's Steve's friend.
He's just like
He's Steve's friend.
but like how much of a
it's
linchpin Bucky Barnes has become in the MCU.
It's very funny to me because he is literally like in a shoddy way. Like he's just like Steve's girlfriend. Like he's just here for the ride. Like he's just here.
One of the funniest stories I have about him is the opening weekend of The Winter Soldier. Wife and I were getting ready and we were, cosplay. We got invited by the theater and everything. So we're going and we stop at the convenience store or like this giant supermarket and we're buying food. And the girl working there, she's like, "Oh my God, Captain America, that's awesome. You guys are at work. Yeah, we're going to see the new movie." She goes, "Oh, The Winter Soldier." And she's like, "Oh, I bought tickets for it. I'm going tomorrow." We're like, "Oh, I hope you're excited." And she was like, "I am, but I would be really excited if they brought back Bucky Barnes. I miss that character so much, and I'm not really sure who this Winter Soldier is. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it." And me knowing the comics,
You
I'm
got
like,
a biggest storm coming, baby.
I was like, I'm pretty sure you're gonna like this movie. Just go in with an open mind. And I remember seeing her after that because again, we returned back there the next day because we were gonna go see the movie again with the theater. And I was like, "So what'd you think?" And she was like, "Oh, you knew." I was like, "I'm a comic nerd, so yeah." She was like, "Thank you for not spoiling it for me." I was like, "Okay, good." It's like,
So
yeah, he was great.
I don't remember, and this has definitely come up again when we're all here again for Winter Soldier. I don't remember how much the marketing tried to hide that the Winter Soldier was Bucky. If they were treating it like a big reveal.
Oh, they were. Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought
yeah.
they were, and I remember at lunch in junior high being all smug, going, "I know who the Winter Soldier is."
Right? Yeah.
And all of my friends being like, "No, you don't. You're just making shit." I was like, "I can tell you, but I don't want to spoil the movie." They're like, "No, who do you think the Winter Soldier is, huh?" I was like, "It's fucking Bucky. It's fucking Bucky. He fell off a train. You really think he survived that?" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Jared, did you
All
get
of
the
y'all-
splat for me? Because I want to see.
I did not get the splat for you, but you do. I did not realize until watching it on my computer this far away that you can see him go in the snow, which made me laugh. But I forgot to get the splat. I apologize. But no, I just remember being like, there's no fucking way. You're full of shit. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's not like you guys a year ago were asking me who Hellboy at the end of Avengers was.
Yeah.
I had to answer that question for all of you. Which there's a funny story about that we'll be telling next week when we talk about Avengers. But yeah, if that's all we have, Armin, anybody watching this already knows where to find you, but I'm going to ask anyway. Where can the lovely people find you, man?
Go to that link tree. Follow me on fucking Instagram is where I'm most active to actually reply to people. So there you go. If you actually want to get a hold of me, it's on Instagram. I check those messages regularly and talk to people. Anything else? I know you could wait 3 years for me to reply. I don't fucking know. So there you go. That's how it goes.
The quickest reply I ever get now that as somebody who has Armin's phone number, the quickest reply I ever get is when I send him a screenshot of an announcement of Roosevelt's doing a Transformers collection. That is the fastest reply I ever get from anybody ever. Is I'll be like, "R.I.P. to your wallet. Here's a Megatron shirt." And in like 0.5 seconds, I get a response like, "Oh, holy shit!" Anyway,
dude, if they do a He-Man line, I am fucked. My wife said I am fucked. She was like, "We're gonna have to get another credit card for a He-Man line." I was like, "Yeah, when that movie drops, everything, all the merch is mine."
The only reason they haven't done a He-Man one is because they're waiting on the movie. I am convinced, and not to sound like a psycho. I want to see your fucking credit card bill the day the He-Man.
It's gonna be bad.
The He-Man collection drops. I know, like God, there's gonna be so many videos uploaded to ComicBookCast that week, just trying to offset the cost of
yeah.
18 He-Man shirts.
You have like 5 videos posted a day.
I'm gonna literally just stream 24/7. Just be like, just donate super chats, please.
Super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat.
Come on. Oh.
Hell. Taylor, since we recorded last, there actually is a place people can find you now.
You can, but you have to find me.
Where can the lovely people find you?
I'm on Blue Sky. Finally caved. Find me at Quicksilver Girl, GRRL.
At bluesky.social.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I know. I just love making fun of the Blue Sky social media handles because they're fucking awful.
Yeah, you can find me, but it won't be very interesting. I'm there for one person, and it's not Jarod.
Nope. We know who. We know who.
We know who.
Those who know, know. Those who know,
If you
know.
know, you know. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Well, you guys can find me personally on social media on Blue Sky and Instagram at DarkJedi2552.
You know where you can find me?
Where?
At the altar marrying.
Indeed. Good luck finding a ring to fit that mechanical finger, though.
You don't need no ring.
Okay.
I don't need to declare my owners.
I say, I mean, hey, like you said, Steve is everybody's boyfriend, so why not?
I want to also put my flag down. If you
Yes.
need somebody to show Multiverse of Madness, I am the Sam Raimi cocksucker that will be on defending that movie till death. Okay, I will be here.
That movie.
That is top 5 MCU film.
Same. That
movie.
That is on the list of movies I'm really
That actually
excited
almost
about.
was my Blue Sky header. Is the Scarlet Witch saying?
Dude, that movie is peak.
So goddamn good. But like I said, you guys can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky DarkJedi2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, wherever you get podcasts, and here on YouTube at the Nerd Academy podcast YouTube channel. To our patrons, you can also find us on the nerdacademypodcast.com. Support the show link. Go to our Patreon. $5 patrons get early access to every single episode of The Road to Doomsday. Again, all of Phase 1 is dropping on a single day. And you'll also get exclusive for patrons, and then this will start to get slowly nickeled and dimed out to the main feed. So if you want early access to The Road to Doomsday, support us on Patreon at the $5 tier to also get exclusive access to the audio commentary tracks that we're doing for all the movies. And our $10 patrons get shouted out at the beginning of every episode. So thank you to Brennan Marr for Patrons They Were Not, Ray Clausen, and Paco. And I will say what I said before. If anybody joins the $10 tier before this is out, sorry. This is how time works. I can't time travel. I'm doing these shout-outs now. Do a time heist to make me shout you out. But as I said, we're at the end now of Phase 1. Join us next week when we are going to be talking all about Avengers, a movie that shook pop culture to its core and changed the landscape of Hollywood for better or worse for the next 20 years to come. So we will see you all next on the next step on the road to Doomsday. Indeed. Fuck, I played the wrong clip.